heard Angela Merkel of Germany saying what Muammar Gaddafi had to say a short while ago was very, very frightening. The Arab League has suggested they will stop Libya from attending meetings of the Arab League, but fairly toothless comments from that league. And President Obama didn't even mention Libya in a speech he was making in the US a short while ago. Turkey's Prime Minister, however, has been a little bit more vocal. He's thrown his weight behind the protesters in Libya. Recep Tayyip Erdogan has warned the Libyan government against enforcing what he called cruel steps on its people.
Governments should not see their people as a threat. They should not consider their people as enemies. We want to see that people's demands for change are realized. No government that turns to violence against its people, takes no notice of their demands and remains insensitive to their expectations and sees its people as their threat can stay in power for long.
Well, let's go now live to Oxford in the United Kingdom and join Oliver Miles, who is a former US ambassador, I beg your pardon, a British ambassador to Libya. Thank you for being with us, Oliver Miles. Tell me, did you see Muammar Gaddafi's speech a short while ago? And if so, what did you make of it?
I saw quite a lot of it. I didn't see all of it because I was watching on British television, and our Foreign Secretary, William Hague, was making a statement at the same time. So they kept interrupting it for that. But I don't think I missed much. I think the speech was what you might call vintage Gaddafi. I hesitate as a foreigner to say how it would impress a Libyan audience, but I feel fairly confident that it would not impress them very much. It was directed at the Libyan audience. It was seeking support and warning of the dangers of opposing Gaddafi. I don't think anyone will have been won over by it.
Do you think anyone will have been scared by it? It did seem as if he was making some fairly explicit threats.
Yes, I think it is scary, and of course that's what he was trying to do. And the same when his son was speaking on television, was it yesterday or the day before yesterday, his long speech. It was meant to make our blood run cold. I've no doubt about that.
I think it was President Reagan who came up with the moniker for Muammar Gaddafi of Mad Dog Gaddafi, and his reputation, I guess, has been cemented by today's speech. But the question really has to come as to how far he's prepared to go with this. I mean, it's very clear that he feels under pressure. It's very clear that he feels betrayed by his own people. And the anger he was showing in that speech suggests that he perhaps is not sure what to do next. The question that we have to ask is he going to pull the trigger? I mean, in your experience of him, do you think he has that state of mind that would allow him to completely do a Tiananmen, if I can put it that way?
Well, it's not really possible to answer that question, of course, because he's never been tested in this way before. It's a new situation. My judgment is that he's tough, that he's determined, but that he's human. And it may be that in the end, considerations of what happens to his family, what happens to his children, his wife, and so on, will weigh with him as they might with anybody else. But I wouldn't rule out his sticking it out to the bitter end, even if it goes against him, even if he ends up like Ceausescu.
William Hague, as you say, was speaking at the same time. I think that they've said they're going to send a frigate to the waters off the coast. What else did the Foreign Secretary have to say, and what do you think of the Foreign Office's response thus far?
Well, first of all, I have to say, and this applies even to the other Arabs, and certainly to America, Britain, and the other outside powers, that there's a limit to what we can actually do about these situations. I said the same about Egypt, I said the same about Tunisia, and I think it's true of Libya. We don't actually have control of this situation. And there is a risk, if we take vigorous action of some kind, that it has unintended results. With that background, I think that the British government's reaction has been quite good so far. I think that strong condemnation of the violence, reassertion of the principles of what we believe in, without suggesting how exactly it should be applied or what should be done in Libya, that's fine. Obviously, governments have to take measures to protect their own people, and most of what Hague said this afternoon related to provision of aircraft in order to get British subjects who are now in Libya, or to give them the opportunity to leave safely.
Sorry,
and as he said in his speech, quite rightly, it's not just Britain. A lot of countries are in the same position.
Very quickly, I'm sorry to interrupt because we're about to lose the satellite line, but there is plenty that Britain can do, isn't there? They can offer safe haven to a lot of the people fleeing the country. They can offer, they can impose much stronger sanctions. They can impose a no-fly zone. They can do any number of things. Why aren't they doing them?
Yes, but as I said just now, if they start taking action like that, imposing a no-fly zone, for example, it'll have uncalculated consequences. It may well drive the Libyans into the arms of Gaddafi. I think that the idea of a no-fly zone, which has been mooted, is based on the belief that the Libyans have used aircraft to strike against Tripoli. We don't actually know that. At least I don't know it. I've not seen any really convincing evidence that that is so, although it's been alleged.
All right, Oliver Miles, thanks very much indeed for talking to us. Well, the British government does say that the entire structure of Libya could be on the brink of collapse. Barbara Serra is in our European News Centre with that story. Barbara.
Tamer, thank you. Yes, those comments came from the UK's Foreign Minister. For the very latest on that, we can join Al Jazeera's Rory Challens. He's at the British Foreign Office in central London for us. And Rory, the government here in the UK has spoken out against the violence before, and now we hear these comments, stronger comments. Tell us a little bit more about what William Hague actually said.
Well, there were two main elements, Barbara, to what William Hague said when he spoke to journalists just a short while ago. First of all, he expressed his concern for the British people who are still stuck inside Libya, but also he reiterated the British government's condemnation of the violence being used against the Libyan people by Colonel Gaddafi's government. He said he wants that violence to stop, that he wants a full investigation into the killings that have already happened, and he wants human rights monitors, international human rights monitors, to be let into the country. Now, he also addressed Colonel Gaddafi's accusations that there was an international conspiracy against him. William Hague said that simply wasn't true. The only people who want him out, he said, were his own people, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job of it, he said. Let's listen to his comments about that.
There are many indications of the structure of the state collapsing in many ways in Libya. It's turned out it hasn't so far involved Colonel Gaddafi's departure, but the resignation of so many ambassadors and diplomats, reports of ministers changing sides within Libya itself, shows that the system is in a very serious crisis. And in that situation, those remaining in authority should be trying to protect their citizens, to maintain the safety of people in Libya, and that is what they are not doing.
The British Foreign Minister there talking about the situation in Libya. Obviously, the government in the UK also concerned about repatriation of its citizens. What's it doing to that regard?
Well, one of the main things it's doing is chartering a plane to fly to Tripoli and to evacuate all the British people there who want to leave. Now, that's mainly going to be non-essential diplomatic staff and any other British citizens who are still stuck inside the country. He said there were many people who are inside the airport there who haven't been able to get flights out. He also said that the British government is going to be sending a warship, the HMS Cumberland, which is a frigate, to the coastal waters off Libya, and that warship would be helping if the situation deteriorates any further and if there has to be a full-scale evacuation of people, British people, who are still inside Libya, Barbara.